Generally, the first step in getting set up is importing an existing contact database or a fresh list of contacts that you want to market to. To do this, go to Manager Tools and then click the Import Export tab. Click the Browse button and locate the CSV file that you want to upload. Once this is selected, all of the data fields in the CSV will be listed on the left vertically with the corresponding UGRU field the data will be importing into. Here you need to make sure that all of the data fields in the CSV are going to the right data fields within UGRU. So each data field has a drop-down that will allow you to toggle to make any manual corrections that are needed. Once finished, click the Data Check button. All data errors will be highlighted in yellow, and possible duplicates will be highlighted red. You can now make any edits to the yellow highlights by clicking on the data fields that need to be changed. Duplicates can be taken out before importing by clicking the trash icon, but this is not required. When that is done, ensure that the list is being imported to the proper team and attach any workflow to the incoming contacts that you need to. After that, just click Import. When you want to add just one contact to the system at a time, click the person with the plus sign icon in the upper right side of the page. At the top, choose whether you want to create a natural person or an entity file by selecting yes or no. Once you enter in the first and last name, you can click the duplicate button to check and see if this contact is already in your system. Now, the data entry just needs to be done. At a minimum, you'll need to fill in first name, last name, source, classification, lead status, and the team that the contact would be assigned to. After all these inputs have been made, click Save, or Save and Add New if you have another contact that needs to go in right away. Documents must be imported on a per-client basis. So for whichever contact in your system that you want to attach documents to, navigate to their client file. Once here, we can click on the Documents tab. We will click through an additional security layer, and here we are in the Documents vault. To add a new subfolder, click the folder with the green plus icon. To add a new document, click the upward pointing blue arrow icon. We can find our file and add it here, or we can simply drag and drop the file into the middle pane. It's also helpful to know that this document vault holds all different kinds of media. You can upload pictures, audio, and video files in a variety of formats. There are two important things to keep in mind to make sure the dashboard is working the way you want it to. You must go into Manager Tools, Business Planning, and Proforma to create a proforma and submit it to the dashboard. This will load the data into the system that pushes the yellow needle to where it should be for each financial gauge. Once you've had at least a month to feed the system inputs like calls made, contacts made, etc., the yellow needles will begin averaging your monthly volume. Secondly, you must go into Manager Tools, Business Planning, and Gauge Calibration to determine which bookkeeping account you want to show data from on the dashboard. Once on this page, just select the checkbox next to the account you want. And then also keep in mind that if any employee in the system needs to be excluded from dashboard gauges and reports, you can select those employees in the bar right above.
In order to set up your UGRU account to be able to send outbound emails from workflow tasks or the bulk emailer, you must first input your SMTP API settings. So to do this, let's navigate to CRM, Staff Tools, and then Global Search. From here, we're going to tab the Emails button in the lower left radio selection and then click Search. Once we see our list, we'll hit Continue. And then at the top, you'll see SMTP/API settings. You can enter in your SMTP settings here, your API key, and then make sure you hit Save SMTP once you're finished. Once that information is loaded in, you can then email out using the workflow tasks or the bulk emailer.
You may have noticed that if you were editing a client file or using the global search function, that the drop-down menus have static selections. If you want to edit these, add new ones, or delete any of them out, you can do so in the Global Profile Changes tab. Navigate to the CRM, Staff Tools, and then Global Profile Changes. Once here, to add a new term, select the corresponding radio button. For example, let's use keywords. Then type in the keyword that you would like to add and click Submit. Any entries that have been added by you can be edited in the top search bar as well. So if we click on classifications, for example, we can edit or delete the health insurance client term that we recently added. The other tool to the left, titled Reapply Tasks, allow you to reassign work tasks from one user to another in bulk. You can specify from source, classification, opportunity, keyword, and lead status. This means that if you wanted to move all the tasks one employee had dealing with internet leads to another employee, you could select the two users and then under source, select internet lead. Then just select a date range that this reapply should correspond to and click Submit. Groups and users is essential to understand to effectively manage your UGRU subscription. The group part stands for the group of people that will make up your team. In some cases, this will be 20 people or more, and in other cases, it will be just one single user. Since the group is the entity, it will contain things like office address, website, mission statement, main phone line, etc. Then each person that belongs in this group are the users. Each user has their own profile where the admin can set their permissions and input their title, team assignment, signature, picture, address, education, bio, business background, and compensation. Once that information is input for a user, then that user can utilize any of those data fields using a tagging code in emails and Ops Library documents. The best example is the signature data field. The user can upload a JPEG of his or her handwritten signature, and then every time he or she sends an email with the tagging code $$_signature, that JPEG will automatically populate in the email in place of the tagging code. In this way, email templates are customized for the sender and the recipient without any additional work. This works similarly with phone numbers, website, title, and any other information that you'd want to include in a document. At the bottom of the page on each user profile is the user permissions. Here you can uncheck or check any permission on any of your employees. It's important to keep in mind that whether we edit the group or any of the users, a blue Save button will appear that needs to be clicked if you want to retain any changes that you make. Navigate to Manager Tools and then the Operations Library. Now click on Client Maintenance and then Email Templates. When we click the Tagging Codes button, an index list of all tagging codes with a search bar will pop up. When you're looking at the list, you'll see the tagging code name on the left side, a description of the tagging code in the middle, and either a repeat of the tagging code on the right if the data field has not been filled, or the current data field that is loaded in if the Groups and Users data field has been filled. The Operations Library is located in Manager Tools. When we first look at this page, it's important to understand that for each category of contacts we have, the content is broken down by acquisition, maintenance, and termination. Some examples would be client acquisition, vendor termination, or staff maintenance. Additionally, there's a category for legal and corporate as well, and by default, these categories are not broken down the same way. When you open them, it will require you to create a subcategory and then choose whether that is for email templates, files, call scripts, or letter templates. To create a subcategory, click Add on that line and type in your input, then just type a description of the folder that will contain this content and click Save. Moving on, as a learning exercise, it'd be good to explore the client maintenance category. As you can see, the subfolders are email templates, employee operations, and letter templates. Templates and call scripts must be created within the built-in editor here, while employee operations, regardless of which category they are in, will be external files that can be uploaded. When you create any of your own subfolders, you should make the same distinction depending on whether you want the subfolder to contain external files or templates created in the Ops Library. The Workflow Builder is in Manager Tools. When we first look at the page, it's important to understand that for each category of contacts that we have, the Workflow Builder content is broken down by acquisition, maintenance, and termination. Additionally, there is a category for legal and corporate, and when we click on these for the first time, we need to create subcategories. So to do that, we're going to click Add on that same line and type in an input, then just type a description of the folder, and then click Save. The left pane inside the workflow interface is used to create or edit the name of a workflow, delete, or clone a workflow and all its tasks within. The middle pane is used to create and design new tasks within any selected workflow. You can also clone, delete, or edit tasks here. The right pane is used to modify the sequence. You must create workflows that follow one path, but each task can spawn new workflows on the same contact. So for example, looking at annual review, notice that after Sit on Annual Review, there are about 12 or so possible options to select. If we examine each of these, we can see that each one is set to attach a workflow, and that specific workflow is displayed. This way, when we select in real time after the annual review meeting, let's say for example we select existing client AUM workflow, and this contact is going to get that workflow attached to it right away automatically. When you want to rearrange a workflow, you must drag an action into another action to make it a child of that action, and then to undo those changes, Just drag the child action slightly above or slightly below where it was. Taking a deeper look at each task within a workflow, there are data fields for you to input a description, an explanation of what needs to be done, default days till due, default assignment, an attachment, automatically prompt calendar entry, and the option to auto-update lead status. When you select the attached dropdown, you can choose workflow, call script, email template, or call without script. Workflow allows the task to auto-spawn a new workflow when you complete it. Call script allows the task to have a specific call script attached so that when the user hits open script from the details of the task, the script will pop up. Email template attaches a specific template so that the user can just click email from pending tasks and be done with that task. Call dispositions can only be made on tasks that have a call script or call without script attached. Pending tasks is essentially the to-do list. It contains all of the tasks for each user. When we navigate there, you can see that there are several filter buttons up top. Clicking past will show us all of our past due actions, today, tomorrow, and week, which gives you today and 7 days into the future. Lead only and first appointment only will filter tasks so that they're associated only with contacts whose contact status is set to lead or first appointment. Email and call will filter tasks that only email items or outbound call items display. You can star any task, and if that button is clicked, then they will display only the starred ones. And then lastly, you can use the pending task search bar to look up any tasks associated with any of the contacts by their name. For each task, you can select one of three options. Email will advance you to an email preview page with the contact's email address already loaded. And if the task you selected is a task to send an email through a workflow, then that template should already be loaded in like you see in this example. When clicking completed, this will mark the task complete and prompt you to select the appropriate follow-up task in your workflow. When you click details, you are taken to what I like to think of as the task HQ. In the upper left, you can access the client file, click to call, look up Google Maps of the address, change the due date, and reassign the user of the task. You can add notes that are automatically time date stamped by clicking here. In the middle pane, you can send off any email template or write a custom email to the contact. Lastly, on the far right, there will be a display of all the call dispositions on this task. This is helpful for understanding how warm or cold a lead is and how many times they have been attempted to be contacted.
Let's navigate to CRM, Staff Tools, Global Search. Near the middle left of the screen, you'll need to select Email on the radio buttons. Now you can create a list of contacts to email using these drop-down selections. So if nothing at all is selected, the search will result in your entire database. But if you select Client, for example, under Classification, every contact record that is classified as a client will make up the entire search results. So you can make your search even more narrow by selecting More from the drop-down menus. Once all your selections have been made, click Search. Now click Continue after reviewing the results. The first thing you need to do is enter a campaign name, and this is so you can differentiate your email blast when you run the email campaign report that tracks delivered, opened, clicked, bounced, and unsubscribed numbers. Once we've done that, if we're sending this blast now, we can leave the radio selection here. Otherwise, we need to click Schedule and then set a time we want it to go out. Then we select the email template that we want, add any attachments, and then send email, and we're done.
Navigate to Manager Tools, Subscriber Management. Click on Open a New Ticket. Here you can fill out the data fields and specify any topic you need help on. It's helpful for the development team if you submit a screenshot of what you need help with. You can paste screenshots into the issue details box, or you can just drag them right in. Once you're done, click Create Ticket. You can check on any status of any of your tickets on the previous page by clicking Check Ticket Status. Navigate to the CRM and then the client file and click on the Opportunities tab. Each contact can have as many opportunities as necessary, and it's obviously very important to keep the opportunity info on each contact up to date and accurate so that your sales pipeline reports are effortless. We consider it best practice to include steps in the workflow like update opportunity status in all the logical spots so that each team member is sure not to forget. You can go to Quick Reports and utilize the Acquisition Reports section. In Acquisition, you can run reports on each stage of the pipeline. As well, you can access the pipeline report from the business section, and this will give you the comprehensive breakdown at each stage in the sales pipeline. You can also go to Global Search and run database reports based on opportunities. just select Opportunity on the radio button at the bottom left, and then select the time period you want to view in the drop-down menu. First, navigate to Financials. The opening page is the Financials dashboard. You're looking at a pie chart of incomes and expenses of the selected time period, which can be adjusted right here. The search bar here is to search through the list of transactions that you see below, and the drop-down menu here that reads Select Payment has three options: Receive Payment to record an income, Expense if the book's incur an expense, or Bill Payment, which will be an expense that will actually be paid for later. You can click on Clients here on the left to create invoices. Once the data for who the invoice is going to has been created, we can click on the space in the bar below to input the product or service, description, quantity, and rate. Created invoices can then be emailed to the recipient at the same time they're recorded in the ledger with a couple mouse clicks by clicking Save and Send, selecting a template in the follow-up page, and then sending off the email. Once the payment has been received for any invoice, you can mark it by using the Receive Payment link here. You can write in partial or full amounts that the invoice payee has sent in. Similarly, clicking on Vendors will give you three options. The first is just to record an expense, and the second two are parallels of the client functions. You can record a vendor expense on the ledger by selecting Bill, but not actually pay it until you select Bill Payment and complete the same process we just went through for invoices. By clicking Employees, you can set up simple payroll processing for the books. When selecting View Employees, you'll see a list of all the employees that have been entered and their pay data. By default, it will be empty, so you'll need to click Add New Employee and input the pay details for each employee. Then, once all that data has been entered, you can click on Payroll. The pay period and date are displayed, and the list of employees will populate. As the user, you simply have to enter in the total hours worked by each employee each month and then click Run Payroll. The ledger will be automatically debited for all the employees' total monthly pay. In the Other tab, you can make a transfer between any of the accounts that you've created up top, and then you can also click on Journal Entry and make a generalized debit or credit journal entry to the ledger by selecting the account, whether it's a debit or a credit, the description, and the account that it's associated with. Transaction tab is a lookup feature where you can search through any incomes, expenses, or outstanding invoices. And lastly, in the Settings tab, you can select the default invoice terms, time period, and number of entries to display on any page. The bottom radio button will toggle between either cash or accrual counting methods. The Financial Planning module is located in the CRM. Click on CRM, Staff Tools, and then Retirement Destinations. You'll need to log in again to proceed through the extra security layer. This is the plan library that stores all of your saved plans or allows you to create new ones. You can add in new contacts here, and the CRM will recognize the names as you begin typing. So let's start typing a name, fill in the retirement age, the birth date, and click Save. At this point, it's important to understand that this planning software is designed to create financial plans in an iterative testing fashion. So what that means is that once you construct a model of what the client's current financial picture looks like, you can then save it and try a variety of iterations in your planning methodology until you come up with a plan that adds the most value. This is also a good way to supply any evidence needed in regards to the compliance to the 2016 DOL ruling that would require you to provide proof that you were acting in your client's best interest in making your recommendations. In this test plan, there are two iterations as an example. So let's click on one. This is the user interface of the plan constructor. You can click each menu button to input the necessary elements of a plan. Plan expenses are entered here. There's a separate category for each type of expense to use different inflation amounts. Plan incomes will be entered here, and similarly, you can establish multiple inflation rates here as well. On the right pane, you can create asset accounts for the plan. Within liquid assets, there is taxable, tax-free, tax-deferred, and equity accounts. Then you can establish distribution schedules, withdrawal limits, charitable bequests, turnover rate, dividend rate, transaction costs, and many other fine details that are necessary for a high-quality plan. In illiquid assets, also on the right side, you can model real estate and property and include mortgages, refinances, and sales of your liquid assets as part of the planning data, and you can also schedule replacements if a client is planning to sell their current home and buy another in the future. The Recommends button on the top bar has all of the automated testing tools. So let's click on Roth IRA Converter, and we're just going to go through a little bit of data entry here. And once we get done filling out the details of what we want to execute, we can hit test value. And if we like that value that we see, we can test it a few times to find out where the pattern is for the most value added, and then apply that to the plan, and it will work holistically. Next, the Generate Report button will generate a CPA style report that outlines all assets, incomes, expenses, cash flows, expected shortfalls, asset values individually and as a category summation, transfer taxation, estate values, and net worth in every year of the plan. And then lastly, the financial plan summary will generate a professionally written Word document that explains the logic behind each potential planning strategy that you used. As you saw, we select all, but you would specifically select the planning methodologies that you used. And keep in mind that the report and the financial plan summary are completely brandable to your individual business.